Hello and welcome to the Sac Off podcast. We're back once again. This time we're not live during the fourth quarter, so the results should be much better because those past two times have been very depressing. But today, while the game's not going on, we're going to talk about a Kings win, which is nice against the Los Angeles Clippers. A day for me that was filled with lots of ups and downs in the sporting world. Thank you, Kings, for giving me the ups. I'm going to talk about some trade rumors going on that you may not have heard about, but they're from another place that we saw. So we're going to talk about that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time. And before we begin, obviously, if you want to follow us on Twitter, at Oscar Hazel, at MattJ_on-NFL. Of course, I also have my professional account now, but no one wants to follow a professional. So I'm just going to introduce Oscar Hazel. Ask Oscar, how you doing today?
I'm well. It's been a little less stressful that it hasn't been a Kings game for a couple of days, so that's nice. Just been taking a bulldog to the vets a lot. That's about it. And it's really, really icy cold here now. So yeah, the streets are like sheets of ice.
Wow. The streets here are dry and yeah.
It's not raining. It's just ice everywhere.
Huh. There you go. So today, first we're going to start off with the Clippers game. One thing we usually do is talk with the popcornmachine.net. We use their stuff, look at some when guys played and stuff like plus minus stuff like that. But it's not available for Clippers games, so we're going to do some of this the old-fashioned way. So first, what were your thoughts on the game on Saturday night?
Well, the Clippers had no one available, so that kind of helped. And the Kings still left guys wide open for free. And Redick went off. He's been playing really amazingly at the moment. But no one else was kind of hitting their threes. I guess Chris Paul did early. I guess what helped the most was Paul was just in foul trouble super early. So like the first half, I think he played 8 minutes. Second half, he managed to play quite a bit more. He got in Ben McLemore got him to take his fourth foul. Ben took a charge. I thought Ben played really well in the first half in particular. He was hitting everything. I think he went 5 from 5 and then didn't hit a shot after that. And he's the only guy to be in. He was plus 17 for the game and no one else was over plus 8. So he had pretty good impact. He was really aggressive. I thought he played well. But I think he plays better than Carl ever thinks he plays. He still only played 27 minutes, but at least he played 5 minutes more than Marco Bellinelli. And this is coming off a game where he played 6 minutes the game before. So maybe that helped. He was the freshest on a back-to-back. I think this is the first time they won on a back-to-back as well. Second half of a back-to-back, so that's a good sign. But yeah, the Clippers were rolling out Cole Aldrich, Paul Pierce, Luke Mbar, Mute in their starting unit. So it wasn't the great, although they were on a 10-game winning streak. So I guess you can't be picky. But yeah, it was a good win. But again, I think it was another game where the Kings just proved that they don't know how to win because they don't have a good half-court offense. And that's what, as much as you can play with flowing transition-based offense, that hurts you in the fourth quarter of a game because it slows down unless you're getting steals and forcing turnovers, which the Kings aren't that great defensively, so they're not doing that. So if you cut, and that's kind of how the Celtics have to chase games or catch up games, is they force turnovers, they don't turn over the ball themselves, and they score in transition. If the Kings learn how to steal or force turnovers, that's kind of the only way they can succeed, or that just the other team fails in the half court and are slow in half court so time goes off. So yeah, the King. This was another game where the Kings couldn't get the ball into the post to Cousins to make a play against Cole Aldridge. Just their entry passes took ages, enough time for a double team to come, then everyone was basically just standing still on the weak side, so Boogie has to try and make some wild throw from the post. and he seems like kind of indecisive when he's in the post at the moment, and that's probably because they didn't practice any low post offense until after the last game of preseason, so it wasn't really up there in terms of what they wanted to teach. And as we talked about in the last episode, the coaching staff think Boogie is a better perimeter player than he is a low post player. And he may be a better perimeter player, but he's not the best perimeter player in the league. He is the best, or at least the top two. I think at the moment he's the best low post player because Gasol's kind of fallen off. Marc Gasol's fallen off slightly. So, and just there's not, like, him in the post can get other teams in foul trouble, and then that just completely obliterates them. So yeah, but Boogie played okay. He missed quite a few shots, but he was all right. He hit a free, like everyone hit a free other than Willie Cauley-Stein and Kufos, and luckily neither of those took any. But I think everyone was over 50%. I know, other than Gay, Rudy was the only one who was 25% from free. Everyone else was over 50%. Caspi was absolutely just bombing them in. So yeah, it was a fun game. There was like 5 guys over 13 points. So yeah, I thought it was like, still the end was kind of, the Kings need to be over 10 with like 5 minutes to go for it to feel like a. It's weird, like the Kings up 10 feels like they're down 2 to me anyway. What were your thoughts from it?
I mean, first of all, we saw our white whale, which was Ben McLemore in the fourth quarter. That was an exciting time, especially. Yeah. So I mean,
then we had 12 minutes of Willie Cauley-Stein and 14 minutes of Costa Kufo. So it's not like Costa was keeping them off the court. And I guess like the Clippers weren't small because they had no one big. But that was kind of frustrating. Yeah,
but I mean, it's just where there were logical times before it didn't happen. So at least now, I don't know if he's done things in practice that have started to earn that trust from Carl to get him in the fourth quarter more. But other things from the game, I mean, like the more and more I watch Rajon Rondo, I'm just kind of getting tired of him. Like, there's just too many deficiencies that are hurting Sacramento.
And I mean, he would be fine if he was playing like the first week or so before Collison got hurt. He was playing 24 minutes, and then you can live with that. But it's 32 plus minutes of. Oh, I think this game really pissed me off with him. It was in the last 2 minutes. It may have been a turnover or something. I think he maybe like made a bad pass, and. Chris Paul was running, like got the ball, was running back. Rondo walked back in transition to let Rudy Gay run with Chris Paul back in transition. And basically Rondo just walked because Josh Smith was behind him. So it was like, okay, I'll guard Josh Smith. And Josh Smith wasn't running. So he was like, I'll just walk up. And to me, that like pissed me off. It's like, the guy who like you're meant to defend, the point guard, has got the ball. Why don't you like try and help him, and then you can go back and like, or Rudy Gay can go back onto Paul's onto Josh Smith. It's like, so that really pissed me off. Just that kind of like mentality. It's like the last 2 minutes of the game, and you're up by like 5, and that's what you do. And just like some of his decisions, like going for that jumper when they were up 2 or 3, which missed, and. Yeah, other than getting to the basket, I don't enjoy any of his game.
Well, it's like one team is like just he's making such big mistakes. I mean, and it's kind of odd though because he's regarded as a smart player, but where's the basketball IQ late in the fourth quarter? It just kind of disappears. Which I'm not.
And I don't think a smart player just holds onto the ball until someone comes off a screen so they can get an assist. No. I don't think a smart player tries to like throw it to where only someone can either not get the ball or it goes out of back. Like he would rather get a turnover than not get an assist. It feels like.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a smart player. It's just like he understands angles well. He understands like changing the speed. He understands like lobs and can obviously scout well because we see him like calling other teams' defense, but he makes as many mistakes as he does good plays. And to me, like, so it's just interesting, like seeing he's like the 6th and Western guards for the All-Star game, and to me that's just like abysmal. And obviously, like, but I mean, Kobe Bryant's going to it, and like he's barely a NBA caliber player this year for like half the season. So
Zata Pachulia has 30,000 more votes than Boogie, and Ines Kanter's only like 5,000 behind.
but that's understandable. Like they're basically like getting votes for their country. So that's kind of, I think that's like fine. It's like it's better that like Zaza like and he played well last year as well, and like he's part of the reason why the Bucks are struggling, because he's not there anymore. But so I think that's understandable. But like Kobe's been hundreds of times and isn't playing well, and on a bad team. It's like at least the Mavericks are doing well.
Yeah.
And like at least like Kanter's team's doing well if he's not. So, but yeah, so it's just kind of weird.
So one other thing to talk about here. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, because you brought it up to me this morning. Is I think it was posted on realgm.com. There's a poster there who you've told me about several times. Just he's kind of ahead of stuff with Sacramento Kings. Who just has an idea of what's going on. Reports things first, although it's on RealGM, so you won't see it much on Twitter. But he mentioned a lot about Rudy Gay, which you're going to about to get into. But so one of the things he mentions is that it seems there's a high probability Rudy Gay is traded, and we'll talk about the potential things in a second. But just with Rondo being in a contract year, if the Kings were to say trade Rudy Gay, how do you think that affects Rondo?
It's interesting because I don't know. There's so many good point guards in the league. I don't know the team that would also pay for him. I guess the Lakers would maybe be one, but so for one part of it is I don't know who Sacramento will be challenging with, and then he gets along. At least he gets along with Boogie and also George Karl. So we've seen him like last year go to a different coaching staff in Dallas and not get along there. So maybe he would be a bit more worried changing coach, and because that seems to have quite a big effect on his game, or like how much he'll be able to play his game. And then if he sees that they're like around the 8th seed, maybe that kind of helps as well. It's like, okay, well, I can be like successful here, whereas I can't think of a team without a point guard that's going to be closer than the Kings. Maybe you could say Houston. If they move, like, I guess Rondo would be seen as an upgrade over Beverly, although I would dispute that maybe. Oh, I definitely would dispute that. Who else doesn't have a point guard that like would be better than the Kings? Maybe Utah, but they'll be getting Exum back. So I don't really think there's maybe. Timberwolves are probably on par. Like I don't see a team that doesn't have a point guard, and they got Rubio. So it's like,
could you see? I don't know. Just throwing this out there. Denver, just for the fact of I don't know, maybe mentoring Rudy Gay.
I'm not sure. I think having Rudy Gay helps Rondo stay, but then we've seen like the Celtics completely churn over and him be still happy. So I think he kind of understands. But yeah, it's interesting how quickly it seems that because I believe on the last Cowbell Kingdom, both James Ham and Aaron, not Cowbell, in the Kings Insider podcast, both Aaron Brewski and James Ham were saying it's not likely, but they would trade anyone but DeMarcus Cousins. But yeah, they're not calling, they're taking calls type thing. But they're not like actively selling. So I guess like that's kind of good that there's like 8 teams that are interested, so that kind of raises the price, and he's on a good contract. I guess he's not playing his best, although he's maybe like played better the last couple of games, so that kind of helps. And I think teams would think they're getting good value because of like last year he was playing much better when he was shooting more from the corners. So maybe teams can envision like a better role for him, so they feel like they're getting value. And maybe the Kings think, okay, well, he's almost 29 now, so if we can get like a younger player for him, maybe that works out for us.
Yeah.
But we've already talked about the Pelicans trade idea last week, so should we move on? So the other teams, so it's dozen Cousins, and he got ahead of like the Stauskas one. He even had posts about Rudy Gay and New Orleans before all the Twitter leaks. I just hadn't seen them yet. And they're all kind of in the Sacramento Kings part of Real GM under the trade idea thread, and you just see him like, I've been on and off that forum for like 2-3 years, and he's always pops up. Seems to be like pretty consistently good. So the teams he's saying they're having talks with at the moment, and it sounds like they're mainly based around Gay, are the Pelicans, Bulls, Clippers, Lakers, Bucks, Hornets, Magic, and Rockets. So the last, shall we start with the Bulls then first? And so he mentioned in a prior post about it being for, I believe, Taj Gibson and McDermott, or there'd be a larger trade that would have Mirotic involved. So I think that would have to have maybe someone like Costa Koufos coming over. And then that kind of works with, like, I think Taj Gibson can play better with both Willie Cauley-Stein and DeMarcus than Costa Koufos can. So maybe that helps you play small more, and obviously Mirotic can as well. But you kind of have the problem there, or that doesn't actually work. So you would have to find another 2 million. So I guess you have to have McDermott as well. So then that's your 3. So that does work. Ironically, it has the Bulls getting better by +4 wins and the Kings getting worse by 4 wins. I think that's partly because Mirotic hasn't played that great. Or his game is basically just he has to hit shots, and he's not been hitting shots great. But you're getting kind of like, and the idea would be the Kings would get back the top 10 protected pick as well. I think that was involved in the trade, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's good as well, because then the Kings would definitely have a pick this year, and it also means that I think there's some sort of ramification with the Sixers trade where one of the first round picks or something later on would turn into second round picks or something like that. There's some weird clause that's never really been cleaned up with that Sixers deal. That's kind of weird about whether the Kings keep their pick this year or not. So would you like that deal? I think it makes the Kings maybe fit, like you get maybe better decision maker, and you obviously get better defenders, but I don't think particularly where you need them. Like, to me, the Kings need to upgrade the backcourt, or like someone that can defend between the 2 and 3 is kind of what the Kings need, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's yes, because I feel like you are still getting some young guys. There is some defense.
Taj was pretty much Gay's age. Mirotic's 25. I don't particularly think McDermott's that useful. So like Mirotic is like the good player, like he's the asset. So I don't know. I probably would say, I don't know. It's hard because you're getting 3 players for 2.
Well, for me, the big difference is getting the pick.
The pick
you
back,
get to keep it.
Yeah, that's helpful. So yeah, that's maybe that kind of would push you over kind of some other deals, whereas like other teams don't have that kind of that giving back the asset. But that's maybe quite a good, and also because of the way in which the East is so good, or their record is so good, that if the Kings just miss the playoff, it looks like they're going to get their 10th pick, so then they keep their pick. So maybe that kind of pushes Chicago to think, okay, well, we might not get it this year, and then next year is the last year it'll be a first round pick, then it changes to 2-2s. So maybe that kind of lingers in their mind. Okay, well, maybe being able to get like Rudy Gay for that pick is kind of worth it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But maybe if you could turn, I think, is Tony Snell on his last year of his deal? Or is he not? Because maybe if you could get, no, he's got 2 more years and he's pretty cheap. So maybe if you could get Tony Snell instead of McDermott, although just going off their PER, maybe you don't want, maybe I've just watched good Tony Snell games. And obviously if you could get Bobby Portis, that'd be great. I love Bobby Portis. But
and one thing Dozen Cousin also said is that with Snell, it seems that that's a guy Chicago still really likes. So he might be,
but that's kind of like the player the Kings need, like someone that's long, can shoot a little bit. They just don't really have that player. So the Kings trade to the Clippers, was that Lance Stevenson and Redick for Rudy Gay? Was that kind of the basis of it?
Lance. So what doesn't? What I do know that the pieces being talked about are Lance Stevenson, J.J. Redick, Jamal Crawford, and a future first round pick.
Okay, so with the Kings would need to get something. They would need to cut another $5 million. So I would assume that would be Bellinelli or Costa Koufos.
Yeah, and he also said that I'm not saying we would acquire all the pieces but he said at most likely we would acquire 2 of those pieces.
So I would assume the Clippers want to get rid of Lance.
Yeah.
And then I think the Kings would rather have Redick. Although he's getting up there in age now. I think he's like, was he 32 or 33? But he's playing really well. Yeah, he's 32, if my maths is correct. So that would work, Lance Stevenson and JJ for Rudy Gay. Would you do that then? Because I guess you're getting the interesting thing with Lance Stevenson, if he works, you're getting someone on the bench that can play the 3, then Caspi goes to the starting lineup, and JJ Redick would go to the starting lineup. So then your starters would be those Rondo, JJ Redick, Caspi, Willie Cauley-Stein, and DeMarcus Cousins. So you're getting better shooting, or at least, and a better defender in JJ Redick. That also means you can probably open up another trade with Marco Bellinelli, because Ben Macklin will be your off the bench. 2 with Collison, then Lance Stevenson. So that kind of works because Lance Stevenson can play make a little bit, and then so you can have him on the ball and Collison spot up, which I think works when at least gives more space as well to Lance. And then I guess that would be either Caspi or Willie Cauley-Stein or DeMarcus Cousins. Like some other, maybe you need to trade. I guess you can just rotate the 3 bigs that you have. So that kind of works maybe. But I think that would be. I just don't like the idea of getting Lance for that much. And yeah, so if you're getting the first round pick as well, but I don't know if the Clippers' first round is going to be that valuable. But I mean, the Kings don't have many picks, so kind of everything's valuable. There's not really anything else you'd want. I guess, like, is Jamal Crawford kind of valuable? I know he hit some big shots against the Kings, but he's pretty old as well now.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like the Kings would almost be doing LA a favor if they took Jamal Crawford. Just
okay.
But I mean,
so you wouldn't be down for that one. So he's on, and he's an expiring contract though. So again, like that makes him a bit less valuable, whereas Redick and Stevenson are 2-year deals. Although Lance Stevenson isn't a valuable $9 million, and I guess he's almost to me that's basically you're just trading JJ Redick for Rudy Gay, and then like Lance is in there to make the map like it work. So first round pick and JJ Redick for Rudy Gay, I think that kind of works.
Yeah.
And then you don't even see Lance as like a part of the trade really. And per Hollinger, the Kings win that trade they get better by 3 wins, and the Clippers get worse by 2 wins. So I think that would be my favoured of the moment at the moment. And that's kind of thinking like the Kings have done well, like reclaiming players as well. So maybe they can get something out of Lance. Like they've done that with Rudy, although I think Rudy's more talented than Lance. They've done that with Rondo. So that could be kind of, and even like Caspi, they've done that with.
Yeah, I was just about to say Caspi.
I guess you could even say Collison to a certain degree, although he was playing well with the Clippers. So I think that could be quite interesting trades. Should we move on to? So should we do the Lakers next? Which I think I don't really see how that one works. Who do you think would be in that Lakers deal? I think that's probably just like. I mean, we heard the Lou Williams rumors before the season, like in free agency. So I would imagine he would be part of it. So he's on a 3-year deal for $7 million. Who else do you think? I'm sure they would love to get rid of Nick Young, but I don't think the Kings would want him. So would it? Do they include like?
That's literally all I can see.
And like, I doubt they're going to give up like Julius Randle, but they kind of need. But then if like the Clippers give like JJ Redick is better than Julius Randle.
Yeah, the Lakers are thinking long term, probably with Randle.
Probably not though. And remember, like the Lakers, they traded Vlade Divac to get like to go off to So, or was it to get Shaq? They like got rid of him to make the room to get Shaq.
No, they got it was the Kobe trade.
Okay, so it's like they've done. So maybe they think, okay, well, like we need to, if we're going to be a player in free agency, and like, we need to have like someone who's like on a good contract, which Rudy Gay is, who's liked by players that Rudy Gay is, and can like drum up player interest, is shown he can be like the third fiddle on the team that he has this year. So maybe that's kind of the way they view that, and it's like Randall's a couple of years away from being good. Haven't been that impressed by Randall. So personally, I wouldn't really like that trade other than you're getting like a young player. I don't really think Randall is. I guess the big upside of there's like better upside in that trade, but there's a worse floor, and I don't think Lou Williams really helps. Other than he's can like play on the ball better than Marco Bellinelli can. I guess that's the advantage, but he's better on defense as well. But they're both awful.
Yeah. And one thing that he also mentioned is that of all these teams, like Lakers could be a third team involved, so there could be something else going somewhere.
Should we move to the Bucks then?
Yeah.
That's the next team. So I know Bucks fans really want to get rid of Greg Monroe, but I doubt the Kings would do that, just because of unless Costa Koufos is going out as well. So I don't really have an idea of who would be in this deal. Have you got any thoughts? So I guess like Giannis and Jabari Parker are probably off the table. But then if they're going after Rudy Gay, he's got to play the 4 as well. So, but I just can't imagine them moving either of those guys. So it's kind of interesting that they're even thinking about Rudy Gay.
I mean,
so maybe this is a situation where it is the third team, or that Caron Butler still.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I mean, if Milwaukee were to hypothetically acquire Gay, so they have Carter Williams, the point guard, Middleton, the shooting guard. I don't know.
Giannis at the 3, Jabari at the 4, Monroe at the 5. They don't really have a spot for him.
Henson, yeah, I don't. So there'd have to be a third team because there's no fit there.
So that's kind of I think that was a tough one. They've got a trade exception that can swallow Caron Butler. So maybe that's what they do. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a weird one for me. I don't really see, at least in terms of Rudy Gay trade, how that can work. Should we move to the Hornets?
Yeah.
So in my ideal world, this would be a Nicholas Batum trade.
That would be fun.
The issue with that, obviously, is why would they be trading him? Because they don't think they can re-sign him, and the Kings would have that same issue. But straight up, they work. It's pretty much like a split in terms, and like Batum is like the perfect player when I think about like they need someone that can defend the 2 to like a stretch 4, and can shoot from the outside, can play make, can create with the ball. So he's like perfect, and so you can either play with him at the 3 and anyone at the 4, Caspi or Willie Cauley-Stein, or you could even start with him at the 2 and Caspi at the 3. So I think he would be like bring great versatility, but again, it would just be whether he would definitely be happy to resign, and he's a couple of years younger than Rudy Gay, so that kind of maybe helps as well with that decision. Is there any other Charlotte trades? Because I mean, he's playing so well, I would imagine they don't want to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm missing another team. I just
maybe Kid Gilchrist. He offers like he would take Rudy Gay's spot. He can he's what you need in that defender type, and then but you'd have to find where you're going to match salaries. So this would be either you need a third team to take some that the Kings would take salary from, unless they don't really have anyone that's on like a short Marvin Williams maybe. Let's see if that works. No, the Kings would need to try. Okay. Oh. So the Hornets only need to take $2 million. So Brian Roberts, is it Brian Roberts? So that one works. So Roberts would be, because he's on a 1-year deal. I think maybe because of the injury he's coming off. But see, I guess Kid Gilchrist did just start practicing again, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just cleared for full contact practice today.
Okay. So that would be interesting. I think he would struggle with Rondo on the court, just the lack of spacing, especially if Willie Cauley-Stein's starting as well. You have basically 3 guys that can't shoot. So that creates its own issue, but then you're stopping the issue of just allowing every team to score on you. So I could understand that. Maybe you need to if you could get Jeremy Lamb instead, maybe that kind of helps as well. He's just a bit too expensive. But maybe you can throw in like James Anderson to make that work, or Caron Butler to a third team, and that works. So I think that would be interesting, as long you probably want to see Kid Gilchrist play for a couple of games, right?
Yeah.
Just to see what he's got. So
I mean, for me, I'm biased, but I love MKG.
So I think if you could get MKG and Jeremy Lamb for Rudy Gay and Caron Butler,
yes,
I really like that. and then you can move Marco Bellinelli for maybe like as someone who plays a similar role as Caspi.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of nice. Or you go after Ryan Anderson or Batum in free agency, who I kind of think feels that mold. And then I think you've got like, if you had like Ryan Anderson with Kid Gilchrist, that kind of that works as a pairing as those two like as a front court. I think that's nice because then you're getting the shooting from the 4 instead of the 3, so it doesn't really change the spacing too much. So yeah, that could work. But then just like, yeah, is Willie where does Willie Cauley-Stein? Is he just an off the bench like swatter? I guess that's, or does Ryan Anderson just come off the bench? So that it still is a little bit murky with having 3 non-shooters in your starting unit potentially. So who are the last couple of teams?
Orlando and Rockets.
So Orlando's interesting because there was a lot of Tobias Harris rumors that the Kings were interested in him from Orlando people. I think it was like Basketball Insider people were pushing it all the time, but Kings people were saying no, that wasn't on the books. Like they was reported the Kings offered him a max. So straight up works. Would you do it straight up for Tobias Harris? I mean, he's young. He's like 22 or 23.
He's got a 4-year contract. 16 million.
Yeah, he just signed it. So it's like 3 million more than Rudy's getting at the moment. I guess what you would maybe try and do is see if you could also deal like maybe you also put in Bellinelli for Oladipo because they have Oladipo coming off the bench, so maybe he would be more happy starting. You get another playmaker. That deal works because I think Rudy's better than Tobias Harris is at the moment anyway. Obviously, Oladipo's better than Bellinelli. He doesn't really help with spacing, but he helps with playmaking and defending some more. And I'm sure Oladipo doesn't particularly like being on the bench. And then they've got Hazonia who can step in. Then Bellinelli's coming off the bench. And they've got Fournier coming. So if they want to re-sign him, maybe it makes it easier to re-sign him with Oladipo gone as well. So that'd be nice if you could kind of push that way. It's like, if you really want Rudy Gay, give us Oladipo.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Oladipo is just Scott Skiles. That seems to.
Yeah, he's doing some George Carly and stuff. They have been winning more with Oladipo on the coming off the bench, so I guess that doesn't help like your decision making if like the things working that you're doing. Is there anyone else you'd be interested in?
I mean,
I think Deadman's kind of interesting.
I've always had an interest in Channing Frye.
Okay, he's really expensive though. He has been playing well. He's been playing well though.
$8 million for the next 3 years each. If it weren't for the contract,
it's like 3 years, 8 million or something, maybe more.
It's just
3 years, 8.
Yeah, and then so with Houston, one thing that Cousins also talked about was found out late last night, believe it or not, Rockets offered Dwight Howard in a package involving Rudy Gay with Costa Koufos plus on a deal. Which
he said the Kings aren't interested in, which is understandable considering what, I guess he would just play the 13 minutes Costa Koufos does. But yeah, I think the Kings would be, they don't need to get older. So I guess, to me, the deal that the Kings should be going for is Ariza and Patrick Beverley. And then you move one of the point guards, or you move
Rondo.
I don't think Rondo has value on a expiring deal.
Yeah.
'Cause you're not getting bird rights or anything.
Who becomes
maybe you try
though? Is Lawson still? Well, I get they want
Maybe even trying to get Terrence Jones as well or something. Although, and because then you get his bird rights, so that kind of works. I guess you could then trade Bellinelli, or like Collison might want to go to a team where he could start, so then you could trade him for someone else. But I think Beverly and Ariza, they give you stuff you need, like defending. And Beverly can spot up as well. So I like to get Ariza. He's on a pretty good deal for $8 million for 3 years. And I think he's the same age as Rudy Gay. He's 30, so he's a year older. So I think that kind of works, and maybe you can get, if you can get Terrence Jones, then you re-sign him on like a cheap deal with his bird rights, something like that. And Beverly's under contract for 4 years. I think that's an amazing deal, the Beverly deal. So I would like that one because I think you're buying low on Ariza and Beverly. I think that this is the deal that makes the Kings the best this year. Would be this one. You just have to work out whether you either keep Bellinelli or you keep Collison, and you almost just use Collison. I guess Collison and Beverly they can just like interchange as who's the ball handler as well on the second unit or something like that, and that could be quite nice.
Yeah. Just one of those.
Maybe, instead of Terrence Jones, maybe you get KJ McDaniels in as well or something like that. That could work.
And one other thing that Desmond Cousin said, this was in response to someone asking him to read the polls. He said that there is parts talk about different combinations been thrown out there. That said, there are other teams who have offered Sacramento better deals so far. The Bulls deals so far than the Bulls have. So any deal happens with the Bulls, and it's like it must include the first round pick. So better deals are out there than what Chicago's offering as of now. Which who from is the question.
I guess who are the most desperate teams? Like I think Houston are pretty desperate because they need to kind of make a move to potentially make either get rid of Howard or make a move to then get in a position for when Howard leaves in free agency. They probably want to get rid of Howard. So maybe if they did a three-way deal with Howard going somewhere else, and then maybe that's one where the Magic are involved. So Howard goes back to the Magic, or
one thing thrown around was Howard Whiteside swap.
Okay, so maybe have Howard. Shall we try that then on the trade machine? So we'll add in the Heat. So you'd have Rudy Gay still going to Washington. You got Howard going to the Heat. Whiteside going to that still. Whiteside just doesn't have much trade value because you don't have any bird rights. He's just not very valuable trade asset because in theory, other than like you can say to him, okay, well we traded for you. That's how much we want you. Come and stay. And then I don't know if I guess Dwight Howard would maybe re-sign, not enter his contract. But then the Heat have got to get rid of a load of money. So I guess like Luol Deng has to go probably to Houston as well. And so maybe the Kings could get like, I don't know, Josh. I don't think they could really take on any more salary. So Houston probably has to take on Josh McRoberts. Does that work? No. And Gerald Green or something. I think we might eventually get this. But I don't see why the Heat would give up Luol Deng, Josh McRoberts, Whiteside, and Gerald Green just for Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
When they could potentially get him in free agency anyway.
Well,
when they get him, he could leave.
He can.
Yeah.
He has an opt-out?
Yeah, he's got an opt-out.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of hurts it. Like, you got to be able to. Maybe he wouldn't opt out of Miami, but he hasn't exactly got the greatest history. So, another thing he said also today, this is Dozens Cousins, is Macklemore and Rondo haven't been mentioned in any deals with New Orleans. And I think the thing with Macklemore that's interesting is before the season started, Divac was talking about like the three main core pieces for the Kings were Rudy Gay, DeMarcus Cousins, and Macklemore. That was like the building blocks. So I think Divac likes Macklemore, and maybe that's why and I think the players do as well. I think that's why they kind of like we've seen less turmoil since Macklemore's stuck with the starters. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. That at least his like name hasn't popped up because he hasn't played as well as like we hoped. And he also said that if New Orleans won't trade Anderson, then there's no deal. So Anderson is obviously a player they like, and I think he's one guy in which the Kings think they've got a better chance of re-signing than most players. So maybe that kind of is one reason why. But it's interesting he's talking about. He does say quite a lot that that poster that the Kings want to make a deal soon because they really want to make the playoffs. So I'm kind of worried that they would go for kind of a more win now move. But then, okay, this is one thing we've got to be worried about with Houston is they have Corey Brewer on a really bad contract. And he's a player that George Karl likes. So if George Karl is like, oh, pushing, we need a defender, and he likes Corey Brewer, who I don't think is a particularly good defender, then that maybe becomes an issue, and they overpay for him. Because then what you could do, like Beverly and Corey Brewer for Rudy Gay, and I think that's the Kings getting fleeced.
Yeah.
If you're doing a deal with the Rockets, to me, you have to get Ariza.
Yeah,
that's what I would want. Yeah, the Kings are -5 if they get Corey Brewer and Ariza Corey Brewer and Beverly. Whereas if you take out Beverly, put in Ariza, they're still -4. So I guess that's how badly Ariza's been playing. I guess I could get Ty Lawson. Like we need another point guard that doesn't defend. But anyway, is there any other trade ideas you want to talk about?
No, not really. I think one thing that I was looking, because you mentioned with Karl liking Corey Brewer, is I thought Dozen Cousins was posting about somebody was saying that Kings are also looking at it from the perspective of they don't know if Karl will be there next year. So
okay. That's interesting. I think we've probably got to talk about that soon as well.
Yeah, no, well, he was taking it from perspective of like, so they're not, if there's a player Karl likes and wants, they may not get him just because Karl likes him.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think that's almost like the most important thing is like don't build everything around just making the playoffs because then it gets dangerous. And then then you make the bad trade. But I think so. What's your favorite out of all the trades we've kind of talked about?
It's like I don't know. I'm kind of torn because it all depends on like what eventually happens. Who feels
so?
To me,
I guess. Should we say Mirotic, Gibson, and McDermott for Gay and Kufos, or Rudy Gay for Trevor Reese, and you get the pick in that one back in that Bulls pick?
Chicago seems like the best fit.
Or Ariza, Patrick Beverly, and Terrence Jones for Gay, and you get a pick as well in that one. Let's say like a high protected first later in the future or something like that. Or like some second round picks. I would probably lean the Houston one, personally. Because I think there's less injury concerns with those guys, more proven players, better defenders. Like Mirotic is as bad a defender as Rudy Gay is. And he doesn't try hard as hard as Rudy Gay does. But obviously, again, Gibson, who's a much better defender than most of the Kings, and I think he's a really good fit next to all the front court players. So I think that one's interesting, at least. And then I think getting Beverly means you can make some moves with probably Collison, and you get value for him, or Bellinelli, and you try and get whatever you can for him.
Yeah, like just with Houston, my biggest issue is just I'm not sure if they moved Beverly, given what was it yesterday that their GM came out and said that Lawson's fit has been difficult for them. They're not able. It's been a challenge to get him into the lineup and figuring out how to use him.
Okay, but I think Rudy kind of fits better, maybe with Harden, because he'll get lots of space.
Who do they play at point guard though?
Harden, Jason Terry. See, to me, that would be Houston being like, okay, like we're losing Dwight Howard. We've got to rebuild around Harden quickly. Who can be like a good number 2 guy or number 3 guy we can get next to Harden? And like Rudy Gay's shown he can play as like the second or third fiddle. They can go after a point guard in free agency. And then like they've got Capella who can play center. I've been really impressed by Capella. And then maybe they keep Monty Eunice, or they look for more kind of like front court help and a point guard. And then that's the direction they move in.
Yeah. And just one more note on one other thing. Yeah, I think it was from 2 days ago or something, but because we talked about all he said with the Pelicans, it is almost guaranteed that no deal is possible. Ryan Anderson not included. And he also talked about Memphis is contacting the Kings recently.
Okay. Should we do? We haven't done a Memphis deal, have we? Should we do that then before we move on to this week? So I think we talked about Memphis before with trade ideas around like Jeff Green. So I guess like Jeff Green is like the new Rudy Gay in terms of like always in trade rumors. I think they're the same age. Are
you gonna be able to keep Green with him expiring contract?
Yeah, that's the question. So I think the Kings would be stupid to go after. But maybe you'd have to have someone else in that deal, right? So it'd be like Tony Allen? I think that makes the contracts work. Let's see. Maybe I've had too many trades. So yeah, that would work. But I think Tony Allen's pretty much done. And again, the spacing issue with Rondo's your point guard. I don't really see who else, unless Zebo. Zebo could be fun. You have Zebo start with Caspi.
Zebo and Boogie together would be.
Zebo, Boogie, and Caspi as your front court would be hilarious, and that'd be an extra headband for Caspi to fix. So you could almost have if McLemore went back to wearing a headband again, you could have all headbands around him and then just a headband fixer in the middle. That'd be pretty like forward thinking, analytical approach to headwear on the court, at least. But you could do like Matt Barnes and Zebo for Rudy Gay, and that works. And it only makes Memphis worse. But that would be kind of funny. And that would be I think that would be like a win now move, wouldn't? But I mean, like Zebo, you can't run with Zebo.
No.
So I don't think that kind of works. In theory, it works in like funny. I don't really know where else you can really go. Like, I think they're kind of like a hard team, at least with a Rudy Gay trade, to kind of make work.
Yeah.
Because like Mike Conley, they're not going to want to give up, and he's an expiring. He probably wouldn't want to sign here, and you've got to make so many other moves to make that work.
Yeah.
Should we move away from hypothetical trade scenarios then, or is there another team you think could be interesting?
I think
Phoenix. Oh, did you say the Celtics as well were one?
Oh yeah, I mean, but I didn't see him listed. I don't know. I thought I saw Boston, but he didn't.
I think that was in an earlier post.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be a deal featured around Avery Bradley. And then who do you think the filler would they prefer as a filler? Maybe a Jerebko, who's under a 2-year deal, and then he can play that stretch 4. That works as a deal, but the Hollinger likes that for the Celtics and not for the Kings. But I mean, the Celtics have got so many picks they can throw in as well for that. And again, Bradley, that mean he can play off ball at least, and he's obviously got chemistry with Rondo. But you've got to probably move Collison or Bellinelli in that case. Or maybe you try and get like Jay Crowder instead of Drek.
Yeah, Jay Crowder's not happening. Just because he seems to be a core part of that team now.
But I mean, if they think they would rather have like a star to bring, if they're starting to want to be like a free agency player, I think they need to have like more go-to guys. And obviously, Isaiah and Rudy have a connection, so maybe that helps as well. Never know. Yeah, I think if you can try and get Jay Crowder in that deal, that should be the plan. But then maybe you fall back on probably not Evan Turner. Maybe Sunders on a 1-year deal. I don't think you want Olenek. Maybe try and get still like James Young as like a project or something.
Bill Simmons would be so sad.
James Young and Jerebko instead of Jay Crowder. Maybe that works. Anyway, should we move on to another big week in the schedule?
Yeah.
And should we also talk about, so the Kings are now half a game behind both the Jazz. Oh, they're 1 game behind the Jazz and half a game behind Portland now. Because the Jazz lost and Portland won last night. The Kings play. So I think the Jazz have only got 2 games before they play the Kings. I know Portland have only got 2 games before they play the Kings, and Kings play 4 games before that. So that's going to be kind of like another Jazz swing game. So that would be kind of interesting. So the games before that Portland game are Lakers, Atlanta. So they're at Lakers. Then they have 3 teams coming in. So Atlanta, Indiana, and Charlotte. So all playoff teams in the East. But the Kings have been pretty good against the East. At least the good East teams. So I guess, what shall we go out of those 5 games? So then they're at Portland after that homestand. Just on a big picture view, what do you think their record's going to be those 5 games?
Let's see. Lakers.
So Lakers, I think they should win that, right?
I would hope, but you never know what happens. I'll say. You know what? I'm going to say 4-1.
Okay.
Against the Lakers, Indiana, Charlotte, and Portland.
So you'd think they would be. So Charlotte aren't actually a playoff team. They're 19. They've also got 19 wins. So they would be 11th in the draft order at the moment. They've only won 2 of the last 10.
Who's Charlotte's big man right now?
Oh yeah, because Al Jefferson's out. It must be. I think they're going with like
Cody Zeller.
Yeah, Cody Zeller, and then the Wisconsin guy, Frank Kaminsky. He plays a lot in the 4th quarter. Like, he killed the Kings when they caught up. So I think like the Charlotte game will be interesting because the Kings were up so much in that game and then lost it when they were up like 22 or something. So hopefully the Kings are still like bitter from that. So yeah, I think that's a game they should probably win. And then Indiana, they've lost the last 3 games. They're on a 4-6 in the last 10. They've had some injury problems as well, so that could be like a good time to meet them. Atlanta are 500 the last 10 games, so maybe seeing them at a slightly better time as well. But the Kings always struggle against Atlanta. I think they've They haven't won there in like an eternity, but obviously it's at home, so maybe that helps. And Portland are playing pretty well since Lillard's come back, and even we saw them beat. Like, I think the Kings struggle against anyone that has good guard play. The Kings are bad at defending guards, so that kind of hurts. So my prediction will be 4-1 as well. I think they lose to Atlanta.
Good.
But that Portland game is going to be really important, I think.
I'm going to say it. The game's at 7 p.m. You want to do another fourth quarter broadcast?
Yeah, let's do it then.
Right.
But I guess that could be like, I almost felt like their Utah game was like the season's over now if they lose this.
Yeah.
So I think it could feel another situation where, okay, this could be it on the season. And in terms of like teams behind, it's only really Denver behind. And they're a game and a half behind. I think New Orleans are just a bit too far out. They're 4 games behind. And I think Denver, they're still like below 500 as well at the moment. So they're not really catching up. And Minnesota have completely fallen out. They've gone 1-9 in the last 10. I think maybe their last win was against the Kings. So the Kings are losing to lots of bad teams. That's still the problem, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's good that most teams are playing this next stretch all ahead of them in the standings, or at least at the moment. They'll probably be above Portland by the time they meet them. Should we see who the Portland are playing then before the Kings, and we can see who Utah are playing as well. So actually, Portland have got a really similar schedule. They've got Atlanta, but they're going to Atlanta. Then they're going to LA to play the Lakers.
I think it's at it's at home versus LA and Lakers, or versus Hawks and Lakers.
Then Kings, obviously, then the Hornets, and then Minnesota. So they've got a pretty similar schedule in terms of like they're playing the Lakers, Hawks, and Hornets, and obviously the Kings, and there's also pretty similar schedule. So maybe we'll kind of get a better feel for like who is who by then. And then the Jazz, they've got the Knicks. I think that's tomorrow. Then Brooklyn, Washington, and those are all. That's a little mini East trip for them, and 2 days staying over in New York. So maybe Rudy Gobert is gonna Eiffel Tower it up. Oh, not Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty. Get Statue of Liberty on. And then Detroit, who've been playing pretty well, and then Charlotte as well. So every team's playing Charlotte, so maybe we have to watch all those 3 teams play Charlotte and we can get a feel for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. And I guess with both Portland and Utah, they're now pretty much back to full strength with Gobert back, although he looked really bad against the Kings, and Lillard back for Portland. So, and the Kings are pretty much back to full strength with Caspi back, their star. So it's getting there. Should we leave it with? Do you think that Caspi makes the All-Star game as a 3-point shooter, and do you think Cousins makes it and the coaches vote? Because I doubt he's going to make it in voting.
Yeah, he's not. I think he'll make it in coach voting because just coaches are smarter than most fans. So we'll see that. Caspi, I don't know.
I think he has to, doesn't he? Him and Kawhi Leonard.
I think, he will.
Kawhi, do you think will?
Because you've got the international thing, which the NBA loves, so, and then just how well he's done.
It would be funny if like everyone would have thought, because of what Marco won it like 2-3 years ago. And then so everyone would have thought that if you'd asked like 3 months ago what King would make the 3-point contest, I bet no one in their right mind would have said Caspi. And here we are.
If you asked the Kings fans 3 months ago who would be more likely to make 3-point contests, and you told them it was Boogie over Marco, it would be.
The issue though with Caspi is he can't shoot from the corners, so that's like 10 he's lost straight away. So maybe you need to do like a team up where like Rondo gets the corners, or like Collison does the corners, Caspi does the above the break. Maybe that's how they got to do it. Tag team.
Dear NBA, if you're listening to this, I will go to the All-Star game in Toronto if you put Boogie in the 3-point contest.
He's not shooting well enough, I don't think. But I think tag team would be fun. You do Caspi and Collison tag team 3-point contest, and then they could do like Clay and Curry. So Clay gets the corners, Curry gets above the break. What other ones could you have? What about like Korver and Horford? That'd be fun. Batum and Jeremy Lamb. I don't know, Bosch and Dragic. He's been shooting well. Love and Kyrie, or Love and J.R. Smith. That'd be good. Portland, Mars Leonard and McCollum. So that could be some fun ones. You can have big and small. I think that'd be a fun idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the NBA is getting rid of that one contest anyway, so might as well.
The one Bosch always wins.
Yeah.
All right, so we're both going 4-1 for the next 5 games. Even though I think so, we'll be back. Hornets game will actually be the game that is. I know that's after the Hornets game. So Wednesday, next show will be
fourth quarter during Portland game.
Okay. So we'll either be pouring one out, or pouring our hearts out onto the floor as we gasp for air, as Rudy Gay takes bad shots with the Kings up by 5, and some of them go in.
Yeah, was
that Rudy Gay's first winning shot as a King? I think
probably.
I mean, he's taken a lot of. He had that miss that Carl Landry tipped in last year. So winning miss.
Although now I'm afraid that because he's made one, he's just going to go. He's going to try everything.
Maybe. I mean, they're just the ball's on his hands enough. Yeah. Because Rondo doesn't throw to him because he doesn't really get that many assists because he has a couple of dribbles first. But anyway. But yeah, hopefully, as long as they beat the Lakers, that's all I care about, right? I mean,
Lakers and Portland, I'll take those two. Okay. That's the rest.
Yeah. And it helps that those East games are at home.
And you know who we get to see this week? Back home, Spencer Hawes. He'll get a warm reception.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that happy note, shall we bugger off?
Yeah, and everyone, thanks again for listening to the Sac Off podcast. Once again, if you want to follow us on Twitter, Oscar at Oscar Hazel, me at MattJ_on-NFL, or my professional account at, you know what, never mind. Just follow the unprofessional account.
It's the last account I followed if you want to follow it.
Yeah. So, and that'll end our show.
Professionally.
Very professional.